August 1988. I was still in California. I don't know what the hell I was doing because I read 17 books in August of 1988. That's a lot of stuff, so let's dive right in. Number one was Comes the Blind Fury by John Saul. This was just like every other John Saul book I ever read, except for one. 100 years ago, a blind girl is being teased by some kids, and she dies, and then present day, new people move in, and the little dead blind girl starts messing with everybody. I think John Saul's writing style was fine. It was just everything seemed to have that same basic plot. So, let's just move on to book two. The Earth Will Shake by Robert Anton Wilson. And this is, I have to look here, the Historical Illuminatus Chronicles, Volume 1. I don't know if this is the first time I ever heard of the Illuminati. I doubt it. That seems crazy. But this was a trilogy of fictional, sort of historical fictional books. So they took place during big world events. They mixed real people with fictional characters, like Dr. Frankenstein is in this one. And it just talked about how the Illuminati affected all of these world events and things. I love reading this kind of crazy stuff. And I may have to go back and check these books out again if I can find them somewhere. Excuse me, I'm going to have to take a drink from my, I wish they were my sponsor, Mountain Dew. There we go. All right. So, The Earth Will Shake by Robert Anton Wilson. Really great, crazy Illuminati conspiracy stuff. Next up, we have Mystery Walk by Robert R. McCammon. We've got one character who heals the living, one who talks to the dead, and they are sort of opposing forces that meet time and time again until a great evil, the Shape Changer, is that what it's called? They have to join forces to take out this big bad. Haven't read it in a long-ass time. Love that cover. Love Robert McCammon. Gonna have to read it again sometime relatively soon when I get the chance. Book number 4, Trace by Warren Murphy. In the last one of these videos, I talked about Trace Once a Mutt. Don't know why I read one later in the series and then came back and read the first one. But it's Devlin Tracy is a... Devlin Tracy? Trace Devlin? Whatever it is. He's an insurance investigator. He has a sex worker girlfriend. He doesn't like to work for the company. They don't like using him, but sometimes they have to because he's good at his job. And in this one, a patient in a private clinic dies shortly after making his doctor his beneficiary. That looks a little shady. So the insurance company sends Trace to investigate. Trace is a great character. And it's a fun, he's snarky, and they're fun mysteries. Let's see, next up we have The Trap Door by Keith Peterson. And this one, I remember absolutely nothing about it. Apparently it's the first in a series with a crime reporter character named John Wells, who's assigned to look into a teen suicide. Must not have left an impression, because I don't remember anything about it. Then we have Come Die With Me by William Campbell Galt, which is book 4. Don't know why I started with book 4 in the Brock Callahan mystery series. And a jockey is murdered, and Brock Callahan must be some sort of investigator because he's trying to solve it. Again, has left no impression on me. Then we have Confessional by Jack Higgins, an author I love. This is the third book, I believe, with his character Liam Devlin, who is an Irish assassin, agent, IRA member, something. It has been a while since I've read these, but there's this Russian assassin who is targeting the Pope. The British government doesn't seem to have anything they can do to stop it, so they have to reach out to Liam Devlin, and he's going to try to stop this assassination of the Pope. Love Jack Higgins. He writes these great thrillers that for me, don't feel as bogged down as a Robert Ludlum or John Le Carre. Is that how you say his name? They're written. I hate to say breezy, but I can't think of a better word at this time. But they're not as thick as some of the other thriller writers, and he's got great characters, a lot of fun. Turning the page. Next up, we have Pet Sematary by Stephen King. Do I even have to talk about the plot of this book? We all know it. But I will say, when I read this back in August 1988, it bored the hell out of me. I have been, between 1988 and 2020, I have been telling people this is the second most boring book I have ever read. And I don't know why. Well, I do know why, because it bored me when I first read it. I do love that cover. I reread it last year and loved it. It is now one of my favorite Stephen King books. So I don't know what my problem was back in 1988. I don't know why it bored me, but it did. Now I love it. There you go. Next, A is for Alibi by Sue Grafton. This is the first, what's her name? Kinsey Milhone mystery. She's a private investigator. I do believe the entire alphabet was completed, although I think Sue Grafton passed away before she finished, and they had to get someone to write the last few books. Not entirely sure, because I think this is the only one I read. There's a woman named Nikki who's just been released from prison where she was serving time for murdering her husband. She says she didn't do it. Hires Kinsey Milhone to find the real killer. I don't know why. Maybe it was the writing style. I just did not get into this book. And as I said, I don't think I read any others. It was made into a movie. Again, not sure if it was this one in particular, but it was made. There was a Kinsey Milhone movie. Somebody big at the time starred in it, but I can't remember who. Anyway, I saw it in the theater. It was fine. I don't think I've ever seen it again. Next up, The Case of the Calendar Girl by Earl Stanley Gardner. This is a Perry Mason mystery. I loved the old Perry Mason show and made-for-TV movies. I haven't seen the new show that was made for HBO. I hear it's really, really good. Perry Mason's a lawyer, and I didn't remember the specifics of this book. I looked it up, found a description on Goodreads that made absolutely no sense and didn't mention Perry Mason once, so I can't tell you anything about this. Next, Count Zero by William Gibson. This is the second book in his trilogy that started with Neuromancer. I think it's the character from Neuromancer is the same character in this. It's this corporate espionage guy wakes up in a reconstructed body. So I'm guessing, because again, I haven't read these in so long, that it's the character from Neuromancer got messed up and has been reconstructed for this book. I can't say for sure. But he has to go and rescue sort of this research and development guy from some corporation who invented some chip. This is cyberpunk. I mean, it's William Gibson. And some books, at least Neuromancer, I want to go back and maybe try reading again. And see if they're as good as I sort of remember. Okay, now we've got Flynn's Inn. Flynn, apostrophe S-I-N. Flynn's Inn. Flynn is an inspector on I think it's the Boston police force, which doesn't have inspectors, so how is that possible? But he's also a spy. He's an Irish Catholic guy with a big family, and in this case, he's sent to this rod and gun club out in the middle of nowhere to investigate the murder of a congressman, and things are not at all what they seem, because they never are when Flynn's involved. These are fun books. I don't like them as much as I like the Fletch books by Gregory MacDonald, but they're still a lot of fun. I think you're going to see there's only a few of the Flynn books, and they're going to pop up again on this list. Then we have Trace, Too Old a Cat. Another one in the Trace series, obviously. But this time, apparently, Trace is not sent on an assignment by the insurance company he works for. He's hired by a mob guy to track down said mob guy's wife who ran away and joined a sex cult. More Trace fun. I have 4 of the Trace books, and of course, neither of the ones that I read back in August of 1988. But great character, fun books. Then we have The Eagle Has Landed by Jack Higgins. Did I say Trace was by Warren Murphy? Anyway, The Eagle Has Landed by Jack Higgins. It's been made into a movie starring Donald Sutherland. I've read this a couple of times, and it is about Winston Churchill is going to visit this small village in the countryside in England, I assume, and this group of German soldiers go undercover. I believe they put on British uniforms. They go to this village, sort of work their way in there, get to know the village, the lay of the land, and are waiting until Winston Churchill shows up on this tour that he's doing of the countryside, and they're going to kill him. They want to kill him. But something happens, and things do not go according to plan. I think that's all I'm going to say. But the thing about this is it may be the first time I sort of differentiated between just German soldiers and Nazis. Now, some people might read this book and they'd say, well, I'm not sure it even mentions any of like the horrible, horrible things that the Nazis were doing. It's more just about this platoon, I suppose, of German soldiers. And I don't know that Nazis are mentioned at all. It's been a while since I've read it. But it's just a sort of a war thriller espionage kind of book. And again, some people might complain that that's glossing over something horrible that happened. But again, it's the first time I sort of separated these two things. That not, you could get into the whole, turning a blind eye, but the book it's just a group of soldiers during a war on their assignment, and not all German soldiers were Nazis and horrible people and wanting to slaughter huge chunks of humanity. But it's a good book. It'll come up again on this list at some point, because I know I've read it at least one more time. And then finally, the last 3 books. I have all of these, because in the last couple of years, I've picked up 30 of the books. The first 30 or 31 books in this series. It's the Destroyer series by Warren Murphy and Richard Sapper. The first book is Created, the Destroyer. This is the story of Remo Williams. He was a cop who was framed for murder. He was executed. The state believed they were executing him, but this secret government organization known as Cure faked his execution, basically kidnap him, take him to their secret facility to train him to be an agent for Cure. We're introduced to an ancient Korean named Chiun. Not sure how you say his name. Who is a master of the terrifyingly powerful martial art of Sinanju. Not the most racially sensitive stuff. And we'll get into the movie in a second. But in this particular book, we meet Remo. We go through the whole execution, a bit of training. But before he's even ready, he's sent out on assignment to find this mysterious mob boss. There's this group of congressmen that are sort of touring the country to see how safe it is, how crime is down. But this mysterious mob boss in New York, I believe, is sort of putting the lie to that. And Remo Williams needs to find him and take him out before the congressmen get to New York as part of their tour. This was made into the movie, or at least I don't know that this plot is the movie, but Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins, starring Fred Ward. Very controversial because I believe it's Joel Gray? Joel Silver or Joel Gray? can't remember which is which, but anyway, one of them plays a small white man plays the Korean Cheon. So it's definitely not racially sensitive, and but it's a fun movie. I love Fred Ward. It's that sort of goofy level of Big Trouble in Little China, which is definitely the superior movie, but it has that same sort of goofy action-adventure feel to it. Anyway, the penultimate book that I read in August of 1988 is number 2 in the Destroyer series, Death Check. Is that what it's called? Yes, Death Check. And in this one, there's a place called the Brewster Forum, which is a big think tank. You know, a bunch of smart people trying to come up with solutions to the world's problems. But in this case, they are planning on taking over the world. So Remo Williams is sent in to take them out. And then we have, finally, in August 1988, we have book 3 in the Destroyer series, Chinese Puzzle, where I believe a Chinese emissary is poisoned, murdered, obviously, and Remo Williams is sent in to investigate and stop an international incident, I assume. And that's it. That is what I read in August of 1988. That's a lot of stuff. But I will say the Destroyer books are very easy to... They're a day. Quick reads. So there you have it. That's all that I read. And this is the second time I have recorded this video. And I flew through it this time. This was the shorter version. I don't know why, but it disappeared off my computer. So I'm doing it again, and hopefully you've enjoyed it. So if you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put them in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to follow me on social media, on Twitter, I am at Ronin5757. On Instagram, where I post pictures of books and comics and games that I have purchased, I am Eric Smith 5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH 5757. There you have it. That's all I've got. So until next time, read more books.